Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of Journey into Ayurveda. I'm Kate, and I'm here with
Ashwini.
Yes, we're Kate and Ashwini of Journey into Ayurveda. So last episode, we talked about dinacharya and prevention, and we talked a little bit about the doshas. But this week, Ashwini and I thought we would share more about the doshas, which is a really unique concept to Ayurveda. And so we'll talk about the doshas, we'll talk about our own kind of doshic makeup, our constitution. And in that context, we'll talk about what we experience when we're both balanced and maybe not so balanced. But first I thought, Ashwini, we could do like a little bit of breath work for an internalization. Does that sound okay?
That sounds good.
Okay, cool. So the one that I thought we would do is really like, mentioned in the different foundational textbooks. It's a fairly common one. It's alternative nostril breath, or in Sanskrit, Nadi Shodhana breath. So we'll do a couple of mudras. So mudras I like to think of mudras as like yoga positions for your hands. So with your right hand, you'll take the Vishnu mudra, which you're going to fold in your index and middle finger into the palm of your hand. And then ideally, like you would have your pinky and ring finger up, but my right hand is a little wonky, so I can't quite do it. And then with your left hand, you'll take the chin mudra. So you'll bring index finger and thumb to touch, and then all 3 of those fingers down. And then you can rest your left hand on your lap if that's comfortable for you. And then as the name implies, we're going to focus on alternating through the breath here. So in just a moment, if you want to join with us, you're going to close down the right side of your nose, and then you're going to breathe in through the left. And then you're going to close the left side down, breathe out through the right. And then you're going to breathe in through the right side, close the right side, breathe out through the left. And we'll do that for a couple of rounds. And then we'll just kind of see how we feel. So to start, find a nice neutral spine, ears on top of shoulders, on top of your hips. Good. And then just take a normal breath in and a normal breath out. Then you'll find your placement with your right hand. So close down through your right nose and breathe in through the left. Close down through the left side and exhale out through the right. Good. Keep the left side closed. Breathe in through the right. Close the right. Exhale left. Good. Breathe in through the left. Close the left. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close the right. Exhale left. Let's do a few more on your own. Let's do a final one here. You'll end exhaling through the left side. And when you're done, relax your hand down. You can keep your eyes closed, but just take a normal breath or 2 in and out. And just start to notice any changes through your mind, your breath, and your body. Ashwini, how are you feeling?
Amazing.
Yeah. Yay! Okay, sweet. So this is one of my favorite breath exercises, and that focus between the left and the right side is really a reflection of like the feminine side, that left side, and the masculine side, the more right side. This is a really great practice to do really any time. It's one that I like to do right before bed, but you can kind of do this whenever you feel like you need some more balance.
Yay. Yes. That was lovely. Thank you for taking us through that.
Yeah, sweet. So let's dive in. I thought we'd start first by talking about the doshas. So the dosha is a Sanskrit term that doesn't really have like an English translation or like a direct English meaning. So kind of the longer explanation of dosha is that it's like an elemental composition, and it's also that which can go out of balance. And it's a way that we can explain and view really everything in existence, in our cosmos, in our nature, in our bodies, like in the day-to-day rhythm that we go through. So the doshas are made up of five mahabhutas, or the five elements. So just kind of quickly, those elements are air and ether, or vayu and akasha, water and fire, which is tejas or jala or ap, kind of depending on where you come from, and then kapha also has that water element, so jala and ap again, and then earth element, priti. So you can see that we go from this very subtle energy of air and ether to this very dense energy of kapha, which is that earth and water element. And then from these, there's a lot of different energetics. So vata is the energy of movement, pitta is the energy of transformation, and then kapha is the energy of like stability and nourishment.
Yes. And I like you said everything in the universe can be understood in the terms of three doshas. We can even understand the cyclical nature of time based on which dosha is predominant during that time. Generally, the cycles of that goes in order: kapha, pitta, and vata. So 24 cycle has two cycles, which is two cycles of kapha, which is 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. That's kapha time of the day. And pitta time of the day is 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And vata time of the day is 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. That then resonates again into 24-hour cycle. And a year has a seasonal cycle that follows the similar pattern as well. Like late winter to spring is kapha time of the year, and summer is pitta time of the year. The heat outside is very pitta. And fall and early winter is vata time of the year. It's very drying in nature. That's why even an individual life following the same way as under the age of 12 is the kapha stage of the life. It's growing nourishment stage of our life, where the body and mind is focused and nourishing and growth. From then until the age of 60, that's the pitta stage of the life, where the person goes to physical and mental transformation. We are always transforming in the pitta stage of the life. And then and then after that, it's vata stage of the life. That's when you have to take it like light, and you start seeing more dryness in the body. You have to take more rest in that stage of the life.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for explaining that. Really big concept. And so thanks for like breaking it down into smaller little nuggets for us.
Yeah.
So the doshas are really everywhere. And Ashwini did a great job of talking about like the cycles that we go through and the times of day. There's also some different physical attributes that I think can be really interesting to view these. These are generalizations, but are really meant to be like helpful clues so that we can understand like our own doshic makeup and that of those around us. So in terms of like looking at the physicality of each of us, Vata people tend to be more slender. One of the interesting things that I just recently learned is that Vata people also have like irregular kind of patterning. So like their faces aren't always perfectly symmetrical. They also may have some different like deformities or like different patterns. So kyphosis is an example of one of those. I actually have that in my spine. So it's like the normal kind of curvature that we all have, but mine is, when you have kyphosis, it's a little bit more exaggerated. So you can kind of hunch a little forward, and that can throw your cervical spine and all of that. Vata people also tend to have like dry, fine, brittle hair. They usually can run a little cold, especially if they're not balanced. They can be really sensitive to drafts. So like fans running, I do not like fans. So this is a little clue of me. Or like really strong, like overpowering air conditioning. And one of our teachers, Dr. Sheena, always talks about how Vata people need like extra love and nourishment. Like all of the love needs to go to the Vata people, she says. So that's Vatas. And then Pitta people tend to run a little bit warmer. Like you can touch them and they're like typically always warm. They're medium build, medium stamina. They tend to be very competitive. They can be like a lot more like tidy and organized and like ambitious. Kapha folks tend to be a little bit like bigger. They have bigger joints. They tend to be slower moving. And they also tend to be a little more resistant to change. Change is hard for all of us to an extent, but like, especially for Kapha people. And Kapha people, I've noticed too, like if I'm walking with Kapha people, I'm like a block ahead of them and I'm like, let's go. Like we got places to go. That's another indication of Kapha people. They're not in a hurry. They just like really slow. They're very grounded. So those are kind of how you can recognize some of the differences in each of us.
Yeah, I'm Kappa type, so excited to meet you.
Like, Ashwini, let's go.
Yeah, my husband is like that. He walks with like 10 miles per hour. I'm
I'll walk
slow.
with him.
Yeah. You know, the amazing thing is that once we realize what the three doshas are, we can start recognizing them individually. By just looking at the person, watching their behavior, and listening the way they speak, we can tell that what the person's constitution is. That actually is how Vaidya practitioner will analyze a rogi's Prakruti. A person's Prakruti defines the balance of the three doshas that are natural equilibrium for that specific individual. My mind goes like, oh yeah, this person, what might be this person's Prakriti without me realizing, oh, I want to do it or not.
Yeah, totally. I think that's super helpful. And I think especially as like the Videyas and the practitioner levels have so much more experience, so they can really like pick up on that. And I think even at our level, it's like so interesting to like gather data about all of that too. Okay, so fun fact here is that Ashwini and I have never met IRL in person yet. But I'm curious, Ashwini, I'd love to know, like, just knowing what you know of me, what are some of the different traits that you've seen of me? And can you kind of piece together what you think my constitution is?
Yes, definitely. So I will tell my observation, then I will guess your Prakriti. I see you have like a joint bones, like strong bones, and then they poke out a little bit. That gives me a hint of Vata. And you're also a go-getter. When I asked you, like, do you want to do a podcast? You jumped into that opportunity and you initiated the whole thing. That is a Pitta behavior. And also you have well-structured jawline, which is Pitta. And you're moving from place to place, you're traveling, moving, and everything you want every day to be new to you. And that's another word for vata. So the quality of kappa is there. I see that you have quite groundedness. So that could be because of you are doing yoga and pranayama for a long time. That might be the reason. So if I have to take educated guess, I think you are Vata Pitta. Okay, Kate. Yeah, now tell me the same.
Yes, that's a very solid analysis. Yeah, so and I think this is so interesting. And it's interesting to like get other insights because I think I see a lot of Vata in myself, but I don't know that I was super aware of like all of my Pitta until like we started getting more into this. So just to confirm, Dr. J is one of our doctors or one of our teachers in school. And he did like a pulse diagnosis because we had like a practice assessment with our fellow classmates. And there was a lot of debate about what my Prakruti is. And so Dr. J did the pulse and confirmed that I am Vata Pitta. So that's a great guess there. And then, we kind of talked about the groundedness, like you pointed out, because I have that. And I think part of it is that over the years, I do like restorative yoga, I do nidra, I do different breath work to like ground myself. And I also think that can be that sattvic kind of guna, which we have not talked about. That's like a whole other thing. So I think it's interesting that you picked up on that. And that's like a common thing that came up in class too.
Yeah.
So great guess there. Ashwini, I love it. So for me to guess you, so you have this like really thick, like very like luxurious looking hair, which is very kapha. And when we chat, like I always like move around and like use my hands a lot, but you're like always very like stable and like kind of unmoving, which is this, the kapha trait again too. And like grounded too, right? So, and, you seem very like pitta in the way that you're like, when we talk about what we're going to do for the podcast, like you're very methodical and you're very like planned out, which is very pitta. I also seem to remember you saying that you were in like the top 10 of your organic chemistry program. So you're very ambitious. That's like a very Pitta thing, like the go-getter, kind of like you talked about with me. So I'm going to say that you're Pitta Kapha. Is that accurate?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Yes. So fun to talk through. And I'd love to know like some more like awareness considerations. So Ashwini, like, will you share how you know when you're balanced in your Prakruti and how you know when you're not so balanced?
Yes, definitely. When I'm balanced, I mean that the three dosha balance in a body matches my prakriti. For me, I can tell that my balance versus imbalance based on the quality and the timing of some key factors like sleep, food, elimination, basic things. And also, I have observed changes in my hair, like skin and like dryness in my hair and skin. When my system is off balance, I have noticed patterns like I get bad dreams, which I already talked about. I start losing energy and interest in things. And I feel more anxious. I have anxiety inside me. I feel more anxious when I'm off balance. And I start becoming more and more irritable because I have pitta imbalance in me. So that's when my irritability, my all the things, I will start crying and crying more when I'm off balance. And also I when I point my mind, when I'm thinking in my mind, my mind is screaming at me like 24 into 7. It's very loud chatterbox. And when I'm balanced, on the other hand, my mind is really calm and quiet. It's like pin drop silence in there. And there's no background audio playing all the time. Even when I get anxious, I do get anxious thoughts when I'm balanced. It's not like it just gets one way or the other. I get anxious thought, but I can talk to myself logically, and when I answer those questions, my anxiety goes down. When I'm in balance, when I talk to myself, oh yeah, this is this and this is this. When I talk to myself logically, I don't get anxious anymore. And yeah, that's because when I'm anxious doesn't mean that I don't know the solution. It just means the mind is not listening to the solution. Um, inter- Interestingly, random thing. When I'm balanced, my skin becomes more tan. uh, I'm sure like Dr. J was telling us like, oh, Kappa people have more fair skin. Like we were thinking, what do you mean fair skin? Like that's like changes from race to race. But like within the race I am in, and within, if I see the people around me who are like my mom and dad versus my side of the family, I become more fair than who I grew up with. But like when my whole body is imbalanced, my skin become more golden and luxurious. I don't know, people will notice that, but it's just me. I can notice it. Like, oh, when I'm like super like dry and pale, that's when I know I'm more kappa imbalanced.
Oh, that's so interesting. I love that. And I love the distinction that you shared about like when you're anxious, like when you're stable and you're grounded, like you're able to come to the solution that you need to, like you can logically work through it. And it's not that you don't have the answer when you have the anxiousness. It's just that your mind isn't able to like grasp it. I think that's such a good like key distinction.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So I think for me, I have like some similar things. Like when I'm not balanced if my sleep is off, that's like a really big thing for me is getting like good quality long amounts of sleep. So I think I shared in the previous episode that I like have to go to bed at 10. That's like the Vata time to go to bed. And then I try to get up by 6. And but you know, if I'm late going to bed or if I stay in bed too late, like that really throws me. And so my mind can really race and like the quality of my thoughts will really like take a dive. So like you, I'll tend to be more anxious. And for me, that means that I like question myself or I question like the relationships that I'm in or I like catastrophize or I'm like going through like worst case scenario kinds of things and like a lot more kind of like fear-based kind of stuff will come up. And then my digestion will also be off. So it's normal for most of us to have like one bowel movement a day, usually within a couple of hours of waking. And I typically do have one bowel movement, but sometimes it's like right when I wake up, sometimes it's like later in the day, sometimes it's dry, sometimes if I overeat, at lunch especially, then I'll like have a different kind of bowel movement. So that's like a really good gauge for me if my digestion is on, which has been like something that I've been working on a lot, is trying to get my my digestion dialed in a little bit. And then like you too, I'll notice like dry skin. My hair can kind of get drier. I have like a ton of oil that I use in my hair. But now when I'm really balanced, like I have a lot more optimistic outlook. I'm not like ruminating over things, kind of like you, like it's a lot, like there's a lot more space between my thoughts. So I still have them, like we all still have our thoughts. They're like a normal process, like our digestion or like our respiratory system, but there's that space and that like expansive quality there. I also will notice that I'll have a stream of ideas kind of come through consistently. And things will come through like different insights in my dreams or just in my waking life. And then in addition to that, this is like that pitta energy. I can like take action on the different ideas. So the creativity is that vata, and then the ability to take action is the pitta. So I notice that I'll be like really grounded in both and can have the ideas and take action. And then I think the other thing is that when I'm balanced, I have like the ideas, I take the action, and then there's that like grounded piece. So all of the like seeds, these ideas floating around, can be like put into the ground, into kapha, and then they take root and things will start to grow. And then finally, I think the last piece is that I'll be a lot more neutral in my responses and my reactions to things. So whatever's happening around me, I can intake it in a really neutral kind of way, and have those, they call it like sharp indriyas, sharp senses. So I can have like the right intake of the sensory observations and things like that.
Yeah, you explained it perfectly. One thought that comes to mind when you're explaining that is sometimes people think the opposite of constipation is like having loose bowel movements, but that's not healthy to have continuous loose bowel movements. That's not true, which indicates imbalance in our system. So we have covered a lot there, and what people can do with this information we have shared on this today's episode.
Yes, this is always like my favorite part of like the call to action, right? So I think the biggest thing when I was thinking about this is like the awareness. And so I think for me that is a lot of journaling. And so people might find that journaling is helpful, and really just like journaling to start, like when do you get up and when do you go to bed? And then are you hungry for food, and when are you hungry for food? Do you have regular meal times? How much food, and what is the quality of the food that you consume? And then I think from there, like once you kind of have the baseline of where you're at, then you can start to get really curious about like, is it healthy for you to go to bed at whatever time you're going to bed? Is what you're eating, or, you know, what you're consuming, whether it's food or breath or any other perceptions, is that healthy for you? So you have the awareness, and then you have the ability to take action. And I keep coming back to this, and you had shared this in episode 1. I think that ability of being very like compassionate with yourself. So you want to do these observations from a really neutral place. So it's not like you're judging yourself because you realize that you go to bed really late, like much past an ideal time. That's okay. Like you just want to have that awareness and then go from there. So really neutral, really compassionate as you're doing this kind of work.
Oh yeah, you put it that perfectly. I really liked it. That's a good one. Journey can help. Journaling can help to people grow their awareness and decide what they want to change and make. Another takeaway I would mention is it's the first most important thing we need to do with this knowledge is to try match our activities to the tridosha cycle of the time. That's where you want to start to get the biggest bang for your buck, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. You really get to like capitalize on the circadian rhythm and like matching that with your body and your activities. I love it. I think that's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. Even
Yeah.
if you eat pizza, match it with the cycle of the day.
Yeah. Ashwini just said you guys can eat pizza. Which you can do that totally fine.
Everything can be Ayurvedic,
Yes, I love that. All right, well, thanks everyone for joining us on episode 4, a dive into the doshas. As a reminder, our aim is to provide educational content and to share a little bit about our journey into Ayurveda. Check out our Instagram and TikTok, y'all. Ashwini and I are both on TikTok for more information on the doshas this week. And as a reminder, what we share here is not meant to replace any care that you would seek from a medical, alternative, or otherwise provider. You know what's best for your body and you know what's best for your own care. We hope to see you soon on the journey into Ayurveda. Please like and subscribe and check us out on Instagram or TikTok, or feel free to shoot us an email at journeyintoayurveda@gmail.com.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.